This is the first episode of Beyond the Trees, podcast by Cedarwood Financial Partners. I am the COO Alex Murphy. Next to me is David Boothby, the CFO, Dylan Ripley, the CEO, and Todd Vincent, the chairman. Today we're going to talk about why we started Cedarwood. Just start simple. Let's go ahead and get rolling. What comes to mind when you guys think, we had to make a change and I want to start something?
The first thing that I think of is that freedom of choice. Like you can choose what color shirt you want to wear. You can choose black or you could choose blue. You get to pick. Right, David?
Good thing we have choice. You can be a setter or you can be a libero. That's right.
That probably characterizes David's role in our firm, actually, because he plays so many different positions if necessary. But seriously, I would say that freedom was one of the main reasons that we started Cedarwood. And that's a broad term, but we want to let it be as broad as possible. So freedom to choose multitude of investments for your clients, freedom to market yourself how you would like to, freedom to choose how you're going to build your business, freedom of what you do want to wear to work, freedom to decorate your office how you want to. Just think about the word freedom and to say, can that be captured every way possible in my business?
Yeah, I'd say with the freedom is the other piece that was attractive, and that's the flexibility, right? The flexibility to wear what you want to wear to work, wear a hat, don't wear a hat, wear blue, wear black. That flexibility is just something that we really weren't used to. There was a code and you went by the code. And so now you've got the flexibility to not only choose those things, but when it comes to serving your clients, right, you have the flexibility to charge how you feel is appropriate to charge and use what investments you feel or you want to use that you're passionate about and strategies. And I think the flexibility paired with the freedom are just two huge things for why we're here today.
Yeah, I think it also is you can control your own fate or control your own destiny. You can work as hard as you want to work and just make it as more impactful as possible. You have that ability to do what you need to do to be successful. You don't have anything holding you back. You have a team like us around each other, and we just feed off of that. So I think that's part of it.
Well, I think of the freedom and flexibility too, like even when it comes to, let's just say technology. So one of the areas that I think is awesome, the idea that you get to choose or a planning tool that you feel comfortable with. Some people like to be very technical. Some people say, I just wanted it to display very simply what we're trying to accomplish. Some people like Apple products. Some people like Microsoft products. I mean, you can use...
Which one are you?
I'm an Apple guy.
Yeah, we know. What are you using now as your computer?
I am using a non-Apple.
Okay.
I'm not happy about it, and I'm going to choose something different very quickly.
And that's because you have the flexibility and freedom to do so.
I do.
I think another thing is shaking things up a little bit. So for me, when we're in the corporate world, it's corporate rat race, right? I mean, you've got lines that show you exactly how you're doing. You know exactly how you're doing compared to everyone else. And everything is centered around what's your production, right? We're all motivated people in general anyways. And then being able to say, we're motivated, but that's not it. We can shake this up and make it look different and try and chase fulfillment and try and help other people who are also motivated to not just be focused on what's the end result here. And that was a big part for me, I think, is just to say, how do we shake up the industry? With that, for you guys, what are some things that you saw and thought, we could fix that or we can make that better within the industry by creating something ourselves?
I think it's the experience. When you're in an environment where everybody's the same, everybody uses the same paint color, everybody uses the same logo. That is what it is. But everybody has the same tools at their disposal, and that's the only tools that they can use. It's hard to separate yourself from, the office that is a part of your firm that's a few streets over, right? And so you can't really, you don't have that separation factor. And so being independent and having the freedom and flexibility to do things your way allows you to kind of solve for what do you want to change. And I think what constantly needs to change is the service model, and it needs to elevate and continue elevating and go as deep as possible. I mean, I'm thankful for Todd's mentorship over the years that even within the confines of a corporate world, going as deep as you possibly can within that. But now as you enter this independence and with Cedarwood, we can take that to another level. And so I think the service that we're able to provide beyond just your basic financial planning and how you charge for that, because I think that's important too. You know, the industry has a norm, right, of a certain assets under care management fee. It doesn't have to be that way, and maybe not every client's suitable that way. So the flexibility to charge appropriately and for the level of service that you provide, I think is a huge gap right now in the industry because it is the way it is. And so I think that's one area that I would like to see change, and I think we're doing a good job of.
Yeah, I think with the flexibility, one cool thing is like you guys are doing, it's flexibility to build your team how you want. Right? We can help other teams to build it exactly how they want so they can specialize on the things they want to. As we've left the world that we were in and come here, what I've seen talking to other advisors is some people love portfolio building. Some people don't build a single portfolio. Some people love the tech and love to get into business planning or retirement planning or whatever it is, and some people don't. And it's neat to be able to say, okay, we can build your team however you want. You can build your business however you want. You can do whatever activities it is that you're passionate about versus, I think before it's bring in assets, bring in money, and it's a little bit more restricted. You had to do certain things a certain way.
Yeah, I think it's also from a client standpoint, this industry is complicated just from what they see from investments to language to, anything that deals with planning tools, software, etc. And what I like to see, or what we like to do in our office, is have an easy button for our clients. Talk the language that they understand. Don't talk over their head. Break it down to where they can, talk it back to you or teach it to you after you get done having a conversation with them. And I think the industry is missing some of that ease of communication.
I think also to dovetail off what you guys said, it's almost like from both a personal perspective and a client perspective is to say, this is my life's work. And in reality, it's like an art because it's not that I'm painting the same picture every day. Each person's different and what they want is different. So the picture is different. So having the freedom to say, I can use whatever I need to use to create that beautiful picture for them is what I love. And if it's my life's work, I want to make it my life's work of like how I want it to be. I want my studio to be my studio. And then when I've put all my effort into it, there's people that I've trained that I want to carry on my studio, if you will, or my legacy, I have a choice in that, training up the next artist behind me, if you will. And then just recognizing that from a client's perspective, how can I communicate? Here's the picture I want. And just help me accomplish that. Any means possible. Paint my picture for me. And I think in the independent space, and what we're trying to do is to say, make all that happen. Make that happen. And that is fulfilling.
Yeah.
I think as you talk about, you mentioned the painter and the artist. So from the advisor perspective, I think it's the same thing, right? And that's something that we would like to see changed is the advisor having the freedom and the flexibility coupled with strong community and practice management and, just the ability to call up somebody that they've got a question they know they can get a quick answer to. And the myth in the independent side is that you don't have that. What we're trying to do is create that, and we've done a great job of doing that through culture, and I think that's important. So the biggest thing for advisors on their side of things is you're the artist, and you can either choose to say, I'm going to go somewhere where the paint color is chosen for me, and in fact, the picture that I'm painting is chosen for me, or you can go independent and It used to be that the only option for independence was I got to do all of this myself. It's a blank canvas, and that's overwhelming for advisors traditionally in the wirehouse and employee side that have never had that. And so what we're trying to do is say, hey, here's some guidance, but at the end of the day, you have the freedom to choose. Do you love red? Do you love black? Do you want to paint a bear? Do you want to paint, my daughters love unicorns. Whatever it is you want to paint and whatever color you want to paint with, you can do it. Cedarwood's just there to provide the community and the support that you want and that you crave, that traditionally has not been in the independent space.
So good. And before we get too far away from it, I think culture is so huge for us, right? And all of us have known somebody for a long time. Todd and Troy the longest, obviously being brothers. But, for me as a great example, I recently said to Carrie, David's wife, he's become one of my best friends over the last year. I talked to him more than anybody else, pretty much, What is it to you guys? What do you think helped to create such a strong culture and family is one of our core values. And I think we all align there. And family doesn't necessarily just mean blood, does in some situations. But why do you think that's been so strong?
In my opinion, I think it's that, a lot of our attributes and our likes are real similar. I mean, there's 3 of us at this table that go to the same church, and that wasn't because we all got together and said, let's go to that same church. It's just our culture, our values that kind of match the values of Cedarwood are all pretty close, and there's on purpose it was that way. And I think that helps, kind of some of our goals and beatitudes of leaving our ego at the door. We keep each other in check. We aren't afraid to say or call each other out on something that we don't think is right or that's sliding off of our values for whatever reason. And that's what I like about this group and just how we communicate with each other other than black and blue shirts.
Yeah, regarding the church thing, I think it's the same for how we all ended up at Cedarwood. We didn't all start out saying, hey, Alex, let's go start Cedarwood, or David, let's go start Cedarwood. We were all on our own individual missions to find something better than where we were. But then as we continued down that process and through conversations happening naturally, it just kind of blossomed into this mutual alignment. And, we connected, whether family or longtime friends, but it was really a deeper, and it has to be when you go into business with somebody else, there has to be a much deeper connection than, just calling up David and saying, hey, David, I'm going to start Cedarwood. Come join me. That would change. That's not how change works. You have to be really pulled to something, and I think we were all pulled to this greater freedom and flexibility, and then creating a firm that aligns with our core values that we feel our core values will align with a lot of people, right? When you talk about faith, family, freedom, and fulfillment, those are important things to masses. It doesn't mean we want to take on, and bring on the masses, but they're not uncommon core values. But I think that's ultimately that alignment, as you mentioned, is what led us here too. And it wasn't just a call up and, hey, let's go start this. It was all of us on our individual missions to find something better, and we aligned on what that looked like.
Like you said, David, we all go to the same church, but that's not like our requirement. And everybody has a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. Sitting at this table, one of us really likes to hunt and others don't. And a couple of us are really good golfers and some of us aren't. But
Whoa. Couple. There's only one.
Okay. All right.
Put Dylan in that category.
Yeah. But I think even when it comes to our faith, believing in something bigger than ourselves, believing in that you were created to do a purpose and fulfill that purpose. I think what really also makes us unique is there is somewhere in the Cedarwood DNA an attitude of you're a giver and not a taker. And that means you sacrifice. You do give up some of your freedom for others. You want to give of yourself, of your time, maybe even of your resources for the benefit of somebody else. And that's something that is felt more than words, empty words on a paper. And I think the more that people get to know us and know Cedarwood, is like, yeah, that's one of the things that's going to be felt in our firm, of that giving, sacrificial attitude in the midst of our freedom.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I'll say you lead from the top on that very well. One thing that's been powerful to me over the last years, it's not been all smooth, right? I mean, we sit here and I think we all feel great about where the firm's at and what we're doing, but it hasn't been the smoothest year and a half at all times. But at all times, I've seen how you guys handle it, how everyone at our firm handles it, and everyone handles it with putting clients first, caring about each other, not getting selfish, not getting to where, when your back's against the wall, people react in different ways. And I think seeing how everyone's reacted to those things has made me feel closer to everyone. So that's been really neat. One of my favorite podcasts, Michael Kitsis, and I know for anyone not on, Todd loves podcasts, listens to them all the time.
That's not true.
But one of the questions he asks is, what's been the hardest part of your journey? I'm probably blundering that a little bit, but that's the gist of it. So over the last, since we started the firm to now, what do you guys think has been the hardest part?
Naturally, change is hard, right? And I think I'm not speaking for the guy next to me. I had 27 years at one place of undoing all of that. I'll let him hit that. But change is hard. And the hardest part through it all has been the best part. It's that freedom and flexibility. And so it's navigating all of that and trying to do your best while still serving your clients at the highest level that you can. So I think for me, it was when you get the freedom and the flexibility, you get it like you're drinking from a fire hydrant. And so it's hard because you have so many options, so many choices. What do I choose? And I think how have we solved that? So we've solved that through community, right? And I think that's where Cedarwood and why Cedarwood exists is to provide that community and that guidance to say, yeah, you have all of these options. It doesn't mean you have to look at all of them. In fact, you may use one specific. You may use a Mac. You may use a Dell. You may use Apple product. Whatever it is, like we've got so much diverse already ideas, and I've used this and I've used that you can lean on that. So that's really helped get through that. But the hardest part for me was the balancing that freedom and that flexibility.
Yeah, I think you nailed that balance part, because even with freedom and flexibility, you have standardization and efficiency. And we're trying to create something that's bigger than us. And, you have to have some kind of efficiency models and standardization, but at the same time, you want to be given every person that's here today and every person that we're going to bring on in the future that freedom and flexibility. So I think that balance, or that push and pull, is probably one of the biggest challenges that I've seen over the last year and a half.
Yeah. I know you guys pick on me with 27 years at the same place, and change is hard. Dylan, I agree with you 100%. You can have change at places where you're at. Like, remember, they just upgrade the computer system or how we're going to do orders after the DOL rule. And you're like, well, that was hard. That's frustrating. So that's common. But what you said about that whole freedom of too many choices almost can be a good challenge. I concur with. The other thing that I think that makes us, want to be givers and sharers and build our community is to say, we've had to learn a lot of things. Like, we didn't know what we didn't know. Well, now that we do know them and we're getting our systems and our processes better, like, let's help somebody else. Let's let them not walk through that same swamp. If we know there's a way around it, let's help them. Like, come on board. We've been there. We've done that. Come walk the rest of the way with us. We haven't learned everything yet. So there's still going to be lots of fun, more change to go through, but every day is a challenge too in some ways.
Yeah, and we've talked about a few of our operational principles, but one is simple is better, less is more. And so we feel as though, as Todd mentioned, we've walked through the fire, we've made tons of mistakes, and now those that come after will get to benefit from that and not make those same mistakes. And then they will have a simplified process around it. It's not going to make it easy, but we want to make it easier than it was on us, and easier than it would be if somebody was doing it themselves. And the only way to do that is through failure. And I talked about it a while back in one of my social media posts. But, the reason that I'm here today is because I wanted to fail more. And when you're a part of a corporation that everything is done for you, it kind of is hard to fail. But it's fulfilling to fail and then get back up and succeed again. And I think that's what ultimately drove me and pulled me to this. It wasn't that, the firm that we were at, there was anything bad. It's just I crave that feeling of wanting to fail, overcome that failure, and find ways and create new ways to succeed and serve clients and advisors.
Yeah, we definitely haven't made it through the year without our bumps and bruises, but great experience. The last thing I will ask for this podcast, and then we can move on, is you'd mentioned, several of you, that being solo independent will be different. And other than community, which I think is fairly clear, what do you think the differences will be if you had just said, I'm solo, I'm being independent, I'm by myself, completely alone?
I think it's been interesting how that since we've now been independent and we've met more independent people, even though you said the community part we've already talked about, it's been interesting how they want community. They like to interact and socialize with other people. So if I took it back to the little artist analogy, right? You still would go to someplace and take your painting and associate and talk with other artists because you want to learn from them. You want to hang out with them. You have common interest with them. And so the independent side of still there's a group of people around you that you probably never realized before or in your own town that are independent, that are new friendships and you can learn from. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think if you're searching for community, as Todd said, you can find it in the independent space, which was actually shocking to me. But I think in the same breath, like Cedarwood's wanting to be more intentional with that. And so if you're looking for intentional community on a more regular scheduled basis, then that's what we're creating, is a community just like that. But if I was independent, I think that would be the only thing I would crave, because you still have the freedoms and the flexibilities. Probably would not love the HR part. You do a lot of that for us, and I'm thankful because and the accounting and the finance. Like, I know we're all financial advisors, but it's much different than accounting. And so I would those two parts are the parts that I'm thankful that on a daily basis I don't have to deal with personally.
Yeah, just even talking to other advisors that are sole or single shops, just the conversations with them makes me realize that I would not have been happy running my, single shop business independent by myself, because that's just not how I'm wired. So I think that just the community and being able to bounce off ideas with each other and share ideas and what's working, what's not working. Have you tried this? Just there's a lot of things that is not on paper that we see on a daily basis, even having a multi-FA office that we probably wouldn't have or even could get access to, even having, community events and things like that. There's daily grind together that you learn a lot from.
And I think Commonwealth does a great job of trying to bring together the community through events throughout the year. I think they wonderful job actually of that. And I have a ton of respect for those that are independent and solos. And it just, for me, it's not what I craved. It wasn't, as I was thinking about failing more, it was, I wanted to fail with you guys and with the community. But I have a ton of respect for those that do all of those things and still manage to serve their clients at a high level, because all of the advisors that we're talking about are high caliber individuals that run great businesses. and they do all the other stuff behind the scenes themselves. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think for me, one thing is seeing what other people are achieving helps you to push to achieve more. So that's something I think I've noticed maybe missing a little bit for a lot of the solos that we've come across. And then, y'all know I'm a penny pincher. I can't help but think about marketing expenses. I mean, you look at some of the websites that are out there for solo independents, and they're not great. And part of that's just because the budget's not there to make it great. And there's so many different things in the space that are the same way. More money does help. And whilst we're not, one of the huge corporations anymore that's getting the best deals, it's been a significantly different experience for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that wraps up our first podcast. Anybody who's listening, thanks for bearing with us. That was probably a rough one for you, but we're going to get better and better at this, and we're having a good time doing it. So thanks for visiting with Beyond the Trees, and we'll see you on the next one.